That'll take ever more silver off the market.
Well, and that's, believe it or not,
Yes, there's Bob. I don't know if you noticed, but there's strange things going on with COMEX warehouse silver stocks.
God, I've noticed. Believe me. I quite frankly think, and this is only a guess, because everything is a secret. And the SLD, the GLD, which are the two ETFs for silver and gold, and the COMEX, both gold and silver, I think that they only have a fraction, and what that fraction is I don't know, of what they say they have in physical. I think they're all lying. And that's why the COMEX has said that they're going to deliver gold and silver in ETF, GLD, and SLD contracts. In other words, shares. Now, why don't you take it from there, because I'm sure you know about it.
Well, are you talking about Adrian Douglas's article about how the commodity exchanges can dump gold debts on ETFs?
Yes.
Okay.
So why don't you expand on that so you can get involved in this, because you certainly know as much about it as I do.
Please get him to talk. I can't get him to talk.
What do you think I'm trying to do here?
Well, listen.
Maybe it'll take.
Hey, listen, I'm a paid shill here.
I'm the guy with dental work to deal with.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Get me my handkerchief, please.
You get the hanky, I'll get the violin. How's that?
I have to start dabbing my eyes. Come on, come forth and tell us about it.
No, I mean, basically what he says is that the gold supply is oversubscribed and that paper gold is being created at an even more frantic rate to suppress the gold price. And we know, how many times do we have to talk about the three banks that have the largest short positions on record? And they still do, as far as I know. And I saw today Goldman Sachs obviously had a blowout quarter, and in large part, a big chunk of it came from its alleged trading operations, whatever that may mean.
Alleged.
Well, I think the point here with the gold and silver is any kind of logic would tell us that both ETFs are lying about their physical positions. We know that COMEX is lying because their positions don't change, and then all of a sudden they get an input of gold from some foreign place. 2 weeks ago, I was told by two subscribers that they both waited longer than 3 weeks, and they both received bars stamped the Canadian Mint, or whatever the Canadian Mint puts on their bars. And, they're talking about gold being missing from the coffers of the mint in Canada.
Mm.
It is my guess, because they won't tell us what is going on, and they're lying about this so-called robbery. That's evident. And we'll find out 2 or 3 years from now. They'll let it leak out.
Well, you know what the latest theory is that the gold left the mint in liquid form, which they say is invisible to metal detectors.
Invisible?
Yeah, well, that's what they say. They say that...
Who is they? I never would ask you this normally, but that's a strange statement because, they're metal detectors.
Well, yeah, but apparently, according to a report in the Ottawa Citizen, that liquid gold, and I don't know how you can make it into liquid gold, but apparently, according to the article, from 2 gold refining industry sources saying that gold chloride dissolved in an acid solution can be unrecognizable to metal detectors.
Well, that's possible.
The only thing
but I still think they were lending it to the U.S. government, which was delivering against contract that they've sold, or they were supplying COMEX, because COMEX
Hey, we got a break.
have deliverables.
We'll be right back. Hold on. Well, here's some grand news. You know, who says our government's worthless? Credit swaps investigated by U.S. Justice Department. The U.S. Justice Department is investigating the market for credit default swaps according to Markit, that's M-A-R-K-I-T Group Limited, the data provider majority owned by Wall Street's largest banks. Oh, here's the fox in the henhouse deal. Markit has been informed of an investigation by Department of Justice into the credit derivatives and related markets. Spokeswoman Teresa Chick said yesterday in an emailed statement in response to questions from Bloomberg News. Although she declined to comment on the nature of the investigation, it simply said, "We will work with the department to provide any information requested of us." And therein may lie the problem. You don't get the right answer unless you ask the right questions. The Antitrust Division sent civil investigative notices this month to banks that own London-based Markit to determine if they have unfair access to price information, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. The U.S. lawmakers plan to regulate the $592 trillion over-the-counter derivative market. Bob, they're only admitting to $592 trillion. I'm sure that there's more stuff that we swept under the carpet, but they say that includes credit default swaps blamed for helping worsen the biggest financial calamity since the Great Depression. Now, Bob, let me ask you a question here, because this depression is going to happen in stages and in waves. In 1929, we saw the stock market kind of go a little funky in this country. But it wasn't until a couple years later that we got the second wave of the Depression. And things really started getting out of hand. There was 30% unemployment. But, folks, 30% unemployment is going to look good if these people continue with their bailout Ponzi scheme that they're doing. And let us not forget, in September of 1931, the banks in England went belly up. But they were affected in 29 as well. But their second wave hit in September of 1931, setting off, they're in this country, folks, by 1932, 33, they didn't have to worry about shutting banks down. They were already closed. They had already shut their doors. Bob, looking into our little crystal ball here, when's the other shoe going to drop here?
Well, we have experienced since mid-March a rally in the market which was somewhat typical of what we saw in 3 different rallies during 1932. And the total amount of those rallies were somewhere in the 70-75% gain area, whereas the gain that we've seen topped out between 40 and 50%, depending upon what you're looking at, whether it's the Dow, the S&P, or the NASDAQ 100, et cetera. And so I think we have completed that rally, which is, again, similar to 32. After that, unemployment did go to 30%, and there's varying figures on that. They keep on telling us it's 25, and it's not. It was 30. And it was devastating. And, yes, the banks closed. And not all of them, but all too many of them. And, of course, cash was king. And in those days, everybody ran around with gold coins in their pockets, and that's why FDR called him in, and he only got about 25% of them, in spite of a $10,000 fine and 10 years in jail. And so after that, they gave up on it and paid what foreign entities they had to pay in gold coins, some of which were melted down, but most of them were just in the form of coins. And so that's how that played out. And in 1939, unemployment was 17.4%, and in 1940, it was 16.2%. And so, yes, the worst was over due to the money that had been sent into the economy as stimulus, the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, which did things like sweep streets and build dams and golf courses and things like that. We were not coming out of the Depression. And the only thing that got us out was that we invited the Japanese to come in and bomb Pearl Harbor and kill all our citizens and wreak havoc.
And hence the day of infamy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, infamy, your left eye. Mm-hmm. When I went into counterintelligence, one of the first books I read was A War in Ether. And it was about the war of the airwaves.